Good night, viewers, and welcome to this another program, Advancing the Cause, for Wednesday, April 10th, 2024. May I first of all, before I commence this program, tender an excuse for the absence of the Hon.Coretta McDonald, AAMP, and General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union, who is on other assignments in relation to some other concerns. Tonight, I'm going to deal with the topic, Guyana at a dangerous crossroad. And may I repeat the topic that we are going to deal with, Guyana at a dangerous crossroad. And for this segment tonight, we would have an introduction. We are going to speak about the Auditor General's report on the Public Accounts Committee meeting. We are going to speak about the Guyana Public Servant Credit Union New Management Committee. We are going to talk about the reopening of schools for the August term. We are going to talk about poor work done by contractors across every region of this country. And I'm going to make reference to the holder, to Barrett letter in the Kaieteur News referring to fastest growing economy means nothing to most Guyanese. And I'm going to touch on the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy or declaration. And then I'm going to deal with the United Nations Human Rights Committee hearing of Guyana based on discrimination and other forms of discrimination, so to speak, also. And then we are going to have, as requested by very many head teachers and teachers across this country, operate the guidelines on the establishment and operation of school canteens. And then we are going to have some conclusion, a conclusion rather, and then we come to the end of the program. So, viewers, let me first of all deal with the introduction. And the introduction is going to be very brief. And that is to say, I'm going to do a quote, and the same quote that I'm going to do for the introduction would be the same quote that I'm going to be doing for the closure of this program. So may I commence at this time the quote that I want to commence this program with. It says, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." I think it is only fitting that I make reference to that once more before I commence this program. It says, and I quote, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." I think that introduction would have been so because of a number of things that are happening in Guyana, and based on the topic that we are speaking tonight, Guyana at a dangerous crossroad. There are going to be a number of clips, and based on those clips, I'm going to do the necessary presentation. So if the operator can just let us have the first clip. And so clip number one deals with Guyana Public Service Credit Union new management. You will recall that on Monday, 8th of April 2024, the High Court ruled on the legality of the elections for the new management committee, as well as for the general meeting that would have been held. And the task given to the elected officers would have been to immediately take up their new positions as appointed. Now, this issue with the Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union would have been in the news for a very long time. And Team Ben and his team, not repeating, would have had an opportunity at the last general meeting of the Cooperative Credit Union and the elections that would have followed, the support that authorized them to now form the new management committee. And so on Monday, immediately after the ruling of the High Court, and based on the instructions given by the court, they took up their office. And so they proceeded immediately to ensure that there was planning for the delivery of effective and efficient service for all its members. And you know that there was some time, or there would have been times during the life of this credit union that there would have been total interference with levels of management, including the last annual general meeting and the elections that would have been held by the Chief Cooperative Development Officer. And so those interference by the Chief Cooperative Development Officer, the Chief Justice would have ruled sometime last year, I would want to believe, to cause him not to interfere with aspects of the Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union. He continued. And after that battle, and when that ruling would have been made some time ago by the court that elections would have been declared in favor of Team Ben, he further interfered with the entire process. And by his interference and intervention, not being there as a Chief Cooperative Development Officer at the general meeting and the elections, and when those were finished, he insisted that the new management committee should submit to him in information for him to consider whether or not the elections would have been held based on a quorum, and whether the general meeting would have been held based on a quorum. And so the court also rebutted his interference. And I am of the opinion that if there's not a stop to the interference of this Chief Cooperative Development Officer, he is going to continue to do what he's doing and to cause so many of the cooperative societies around this country to not being able to function effectively and efficiently. So I am happy And at this stage, I want to offer my congratulations to Team Ben and all elected members. And I am of the strong opinion, because I have the confidence that they are going to deliver effective and efficient service to all its members. And so, viewers, we are now going to deal with the second issue at hand, which is the Auditor General's report and the Public Accounts Committee that would have been held on Monday, the 8th of April, 2024. The Public Accounts Committee is a subcommittee of the National Assembly, and that is a given. And so at that meeting, the Public Accounts meeting, the Auditor General's report for any agency would be discussed by the Public Accounts Committee. The committee is always chaired by the opposition.
Folks, we are out here outside the Ghana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union.
Yes, the Public Accounts Committee would comprise both members of the opposition and the government. And it is chaired by a member of the opposition who is a member of parliament. Because as I said early on, it is a subcommittee of the National Assembly. And I want to make this point and to register this point, not in any way derogatory to the office of the Auditor General or any of his staff, because I would have been in the public view for a very long time, been a public officer. And I've noted with respect that very many things that are written in that report and are stable to or in the meeting of the Public Accounts Committee are not always reflective of the findings, discussion of a particular agency and with the discussion with the head of agency. And so there are times when these discussions are held with the agency and representatives of the Office of the Auditor General, and you would have concluded that a particular issue would have been dealt with and the necessary submissions would have been made. And when you get to Public Accounts Committee, there are a number of things that would happen. But I'm going to deal with that aspect just now. So I want the public to know, and I want public officers, not those that are functioning now, but those REOs who would have been there, and some of the permanent secretaries. When you would have been called to the Public Accounts Committee, let me say to you here and now, it is not always that you have to attend in person. You can attend virtually. And there's no rule which says that you must be present to be able to, if you can in any way or in any form, respond to any question or query that would have been placed to you. And sometimes it places you in a very difficult position to know whether you are asked questions whether any comment is made or you are left to wonder. And I say this to indicate to you as viewers, and for those REOs who would have been there and are about to answer for whichever particular year, you must take note of the things that I'm saying. Nothing that I'm saying is libelous. Nothing that I say is defaming the office of the Auditor General. Nothing that I'm saying is contrary to what I know. And therefore, I think the time has come in this country when people should give their views on what is written in the Auditor's General Report. If not, we are going to be going to the Public Accounts Committee year after year and to be able to be interrogated, not in a reasonable fashion or in a civil fashion by some members, but in a way derogatory, trying to bring down officers who served in the coalition administration. And the Public Accounts Committee, as far as I am concerned, some of the members asked questions to defame and to bring down and to demoralize persons who would have served diligently during the coalition government. And I say to you, the public, the viewers, that as I said early on, anything that is happening, there must be a time when somebody must be able to deal with the issue. And I'm now handling the issue and I'm giving the public the information because I've already said that it is not all time what is written, all times what is written there by the Auditor General, it is true and correct. But we must be able to, in a very civilized way, very respectable way, as some REOs, or maybe all the REOs would have been called, that served previously, not the present REOs. I can't speak for this crop of REOs. But who would have served in the coalition diligently, that we must be able to have the temerity and the gusto to be able to question the Auditor's General Report. And so, I made an observation, and I can only conclude that the observation I would have made would have had some merit in it. And that is to say that the auditors in all the regions of this country during the 2015-2020 coalition period in office, that there was a level of activism that sprung up in the hearts and minds. And as I said, in my opinion, I strongly believe and want to suggest that they became so active that some of them might have been sitting elsewhere in the guard hut and elsewhere to even check on the time when employees would have been reporting for duty. When you leave, what color of clothing you had, who you went in with, who you came out with. And they were there to scrutinize, not in an effort to do their work as prescribed in the Audit Act, but in a way to be able to find things that could not have been found, so that when they write their reports, it would want to bring to bear that there was no performance low performance of the REOs that served during the period of the coalition. And so when this would have been done, you get to Parliament, you get to the National Assembly, and questions are asked. But let me make some observation. Let me make some observation of the Public Accounts Committee. I attended last Monday's meeting virtually to answer for the audit report that I challenged in so many ways for 2019 because I served there as REO for Region 2. And so I attended virtually from the confines of my home. And I want to address so that viewers can know the observation made by Gail Teixeira. Gail Teixeira, in her true fashion, her observation would have been one. She was so disturbed and upset about the color of my shirt, and the color of my shirt would have been purple. And I had in the confines of my home, I decide what I wear in my home. I don't know Teixeira has any authority to decide what I wear in my home or any other person. And she must know her place. This is not Freedom House on Rob Street or elsewhere. This is not her office. And if she is accustomed to dictating for her PPP cronies, let her not try that with me. But I want the viewers to know this. The kind of people that we are dealing with when we go to Public Accounts Committee. And so she made that observation about my shirt, the color of my shirt, and the button that I was wearing. I was wearing a purple shirt, and the button that I had on was a button of Swartz Burnham, my founder leader. And she was so annoyed that everything she said and she spoke and she made reference to that button and Burnham. Burnham. That is her way of putting over Burnham. And so she has no authority or cannot by any way dictate to me what should be or how I should be decorated. But that is not all. I was sitting in front of my library and I have a collection of good books, books of taste, and that would give you the level of intelligence that you would want to, so that you can go forward in life, not keep you stagnated in one way or in one form. And she saw a book called A Destiny to Mold. And on the cover of that book would have been Forbes Burnham. And she was upset. And on the other side, she saw a picture of President Granger and myself sitting. But what she did not see, there was another picture, photograph of Hugh Desmond Hoyt, the late Hugh Desmond Hoyt. And so I had that collection of former presidents. And I don't know if she understands well that portfolio in which she's functioning. Something about governance and don't know that if you have any reason to make a collection of past presidents, former presidents, you do that for who you think is best suited to your political beliefs. And there's no question about that. There's no question about me. What I had in display is what is my ideological and political belief. And if she didn't know that, because she knew that very well, and all of them knew that, because when I've served at one time as regional executive officer in Region 3, and I had the opportunity to go there in Parliament to be able to allow the Minister of Communities to put forward the budget presentation and to answer questions as for line items, I always wore either a purple shirt and a purple pants with a purple shoe, or a green shirt, a green pants, and a green shoe. And I always decorated myself as I would have done on that day with buttons. And so those things get her annoyed. I'm sorry that I have no more opportunity to be able to go to any public accounts committee, because I've been further decorated, not this time, not from the confines of my home, but direct in the National Assembly. And I want to see who has the gusto and the temerity, I have no opportunity to go anymore, to tell me that I'm not properly dressed for that occasion. They are of the opinion that like they run this government and mismanage it, that they now have authority to run and manage people's personal life and homes. They must try that with the PPP people and their cronies, not with me. And so I want to speak a little bit about the questioning aspect. I don't know, but somebody should teach both Egel and Teixeira how is it to ask questions. All their questions that they ask, every single one that the two of them asked, both Egel and Teixeira, they were out of order and lacked the basic elements of a well-constructed sentence. And so I had behind me a book that would have been written by Dr. Desmond Brooms. They might not even know that name. And that book is titled Question and Questioning. And I keep abreast with that book because I read it time and again. And nothing that they ask, the two of them, they have never asked a question. What they try to do is to go around and come around, go around and come around, as though you don't remember what you would have said in the first place. Try to tie you up, but they can't tie you up. It is the wrong REO or former REO. And let me make this point. I did not appear there at the Public Accounts Committee as an REO or a former REO. I appeared there as a private citizen. But what of the difference, because I would have been serving as REO in 2019. And that gives me the opportunity to respond to any question that would have been posed or anything that appeared to be questioned that would have been posed to me, to answer if I recall or remember. And if I don't recall or remember, I say to you, I can't recall or remember. And anybody saying, let me refresh your memory, it's not only insulting my intelligence, but gives you an opportunity to allow you to be able to conclude that in their own memory, they have lost sight of many things. And so I want to urge my colleagues that are still to go, they have to be very, very brave and be able to deal with the issues in a very professional and very civil way. And so let us understand clearly that both Agile and Teixeira, they lack basic knowledge of the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act. They lack basic knowledge of the stores regulation. They lack basic knowledge of the evaluation committee and the evaluation committee report. They lack basic knowledge of the proceedings or the procedures of tender board. And they lack basic knowledge of the entire public service functioning. But you know that Agile, with his very loud and aggressive voice, the way he speaks, would give you the impression, the public, because that is what he's looking for, recognition from the public. When he does this thing, he goes with a loud voice. His total questions are totally out of order and out of place. And not only that, like little children, when he asks the questions or things that appear to be questions, he would be looking around to see what attention he could get. What manner of man is that? And then at the end of it, believe that he has this loud and aggressive voice and that you must confine yourself and submit to what he's saying. My name is Dennis Jaikaran, and those who know me, they know me well. If you come to me with the greatest of respect and be civil in what you do, I would give you your respect and be very civil to you. And so I thought it best that I should bring these two couple of things to the attention of the public, viewers, and other persons, and especially my colleagues who served as REOs during the coalition period, that when you get there, you must have the braveness, so to speak. You must have the temerity and the guts too, so you can be able to stand up and to be able to respond if you can. If you can't remember or recall, then say you can't remember or recall. Don't let them put you in a corner as though you are a little child, as Agile and Teixeira would want you to believe. You have to show what you are made of. But long time gone, short time left. So viewers, let me apologize for that break that we would have had there. And that is not because of our fault, but we recognize that when programs like these are on, there is total interference somewhere. But regardless of the interference, we will continue this program here and elsewhere. So I was speaking to aspects of the Public Accounts Committee and the meeting that was held. And so I want to address two things that are now in the public domain. That people are getting the wrong views from those who report differently from what would have been said, heard, and told at the Public Accounts meeting. And this is what I want to say about the Evaluation Committee report and the Tender Board minutes for the period 2019. Every Evaluation Committee meeting that was held, the report was prepared, signed by all the evaluators. When Tender Board meetings are held, the minutes of that meeting are prepared and signed by Tender Board members. And for each and every meeting of the Evaluation Committee and the Tender Board that would have been held in 2019, as indicated in the National Assembly virtually on Monday, I am repeating what I said and I maintain what I said, that all those records would have been submitted in a timely manner and fashion. And not only that, but would have been discussed before and after with auditors of the Office of the Auditor General in Region 2. And those reports and minutes would have been submitted. They made it an issue as though we don't have records. But if they are not records, those who are there now would have to find the records. So since I have the opportunity tonight on this program, I thought it fit that this is a forum in which I should correct what would have been said. So those who had a field day would now be able to pull in their corners and get in their shells and be able to know the truth of the matter. The second matter I want to deal with that is in the public domain. But before I go to that, there was question about certain contracts that would have been given. And when questions would be asked about tendering and what have you, the records are there. And to let the public know, the viewers know, that there was an application for pre-qualified contractors. And there was that list. And if by chance there was any work to be done, you use a system to allow for those projects to be able to commence and conclude. And when the question would have been asked about how many projects there, the answer to those questions would have been given in the affirmative by the regional engineer. Were contracts signed? Yes. Were the values there? Yes. Everything there. Evaluation done? Yes. Payments made? Done? Yes. And so if the public had a different view, I am clarifying now, here and tonight, so that my colleagues who serve during the collation period, when there is misinformation, that they should be able to also find an opportunity somewhere, somehow, to speak the truth and to give the message correctly, so that people would not taint your image and tarnish your reputation and bring down your integrity. And that is what some of them at the Public Accounts Committee on the government side set out to do. they are not going to get into my way. And anything that is any comment on social media, I don't deal with social media. That is people's personal views and how they feel and how deep down in their hearts they might have some level of hatred for people. They are belching it out. And before I go there, I said to them a question of a would have been asked. How do you ask me a question? Do you know what is restricted tendering? Well, I said to him there and then that since I left office, I had no need for those books, and I threw them through the window. I repeated what I said, and that I read one book and I read it sincerely, honestly, and that is the Bible. And that is a big issue up to now, up to today, because people cannot understand how is it you attach value to certain things. And so I said that I'm going to make mention of it. And the last thing I want to clarify and to outline the procedure is the drugs and medical for 2019 for public hospital study. A particular sum would have been appropriated to the region in the 2019 budget as approved in 2018, December 2018. Out of that appropriation, a sum would have been retained by the regional administration Department of Health so that internally they would be able to use that sum of money to be able to purchase needed drugs and medical supplies. And that would have been done. And so the other sum, I don't recall whether it is two parts or one part, would have been sent to the Ministry of Health. And those sums, or that particular sum, would have allowed the Ministry of Health to be able to purchase drugs and medical supplies so that the public hospital study and the facilities attached to that hospital can be able to benefit from those drugs and medical supplies. And so there is a process you call reconciliation, and that has to be done by the Department of Health and the Ministry of Health. And so they are of the opinion the way they sell it is to cause the public to want to realize that there was some mishap, and that mishap has to do with not being able to account for those sums of money. But I thought it fit that the viewers, the general public, would know, and those who had a field day would be able to pull in a corner to research and to search their own minds and be able to now understand and correct this whole situation, misleading as it would have been. And so I want to be able to close with that there, with the Auditor General report and the Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union, and to now place on record issues. Or before I go there, I recognize every time I looked at the side of where, or the back of where the REO was sitting and her team, that there were three persons. I don't know whether they were members of staff of the regional administration or where, or what have you. But if they were, every time I glanced and I looked there, the three of them were sleeping. And if they were sleeping, I want to say that the government, the state, not the government, the state, is paying people to sleep while on official work. And if you are paying people to sleep, I would want to wonder, as many of us would want to wonder, what is happening in the government services. And so it is limping, as GPL is limping and continues to limp, so is the public service, because I want to believe that these people, because they are not allowing them to be able to benefit from their respective salaries, or that they would have met age far away after rather retirement, and they are sleeping during normal working hours. I turn my attention now to the reopening of schools for the August term 2024. During the period of the coalition, we would all recall whenever school would have been reopened, every school compound, every school building would have been clean and would have been in readiness for teachers and our pupils, our children, and our students. It is a shame to know that very many teachers from across this country, Region 6, Region 5, Region 4, East Coast, East Bank, Georgetown per se, Region 3, Region 2, and other regions called to indicate that their schools and the compound would have been in a very deplorable state, not in readiness for the opening of schools. And if that would have been so, then we would have gone a far way back in how do we allow our teachers, our pupils, our children, and our students to be in a creative and learning environment. And so, in addition to those little things for the reopening of schools, we would have also been told that there would have been shortage of pieces of furniture. There would have been very many pieces of broken furniture. And how do we expect our children to be able and our teachers to go in an environment like that? Some places you have no teachers' chairs and desks. And what is it we are doing to the teachers? We are already suffering them as it relates to salary and salary issues and other benefits, because they refuse, the Ministry of Education is refusing to allow for a package to be prepared and for the Ministry of Education to be able to handle that package. And so I now turn my attention to poor work done by contractors in all the regions. You would recall that a few days ago, Cemetery Road, Dennis Street, Conversation Road, serious problems, difficulties. The Cemetery Road, there would have been, I want to believe, a spiritual problem. And those who are spiritual should have been able to solve that, to attend to that, and to lay that heavy hand and voice to remove the spirits that hinder the work on Cemetery Road. But you would know that 2 days, 3 days ago, that they had to renegotiate. And if that had to be the case, or that were the case, then it is sad the way things are happening and the way our contractors deliver services. Incomplete work, poor work, low and poor quality of materials used for all construction, hence poor work. Suppliers of goods and services, poor and low quality. And that is not the bad thing about it. If the government would have recognized that there would have been, or there is, this low level of production, poor quality, why is it government is now setting up special units in all government ministries and agencies to evaluate contractors' work? If you had that confidence in you and to spend the oil money that you are getting, billions of dollars, as I said, long time gone, short time left, you would have a chance to account for your stewardship from 2020. And wherever I am, I would be probing to ensure that the questions are asked, because we have to get answers. As you are now demanding answers for quality work, for good and excellent accountability, because you have nothing more to say, but you are giving the public the impression that things were so bad. And I make mention again, you say what you want to say about me or any member of the coalition while in government. We did our best without oil money. We allowed GPL to function effectively without oil money. We allowed the education system to work effectively without oil money. We allowed the health system to work effectively without oil money. We allowed the regional system and all ministries, agencies to work effectively and efficiently without oil money. There is oil money, but there is the lack of confidence in all the workers of this country, teachers, public servants, policemen, soldiers, because they are not getting the reward that they so desire to get. And so there would have been, and I want to turn to another point. I want now to deal with the fastest growing economy that they tell you to about. And that there was a letter by Comrade Sherwin Holder, the Shadow Minister for Natural Resources. And he wrote in response to, I think is some Bharat is his name. Not Bharat Jagdeo, some Bharat from the Ministry of Natural Resources. I think he's a minister. And so he said something about the fastest growing economy, and that Guyana is experiencing this growth. But I want to say, as my colleague and comrade would have indicated in his letter, that the fastest growing economy means nothing to most Guyanese. And for those who would have had any opportunity to say yes, that it is, and they are benefited from it, those are the persons who are the elite, friends, family, favorites of the PPP, which is about 1 to 2%. And even among the 1 to 2% who are receiving those benefits, if you listen very carefully with them, that they have quarrels among themselves as to who receive more than who. But 98% of the population is being overlooked. But once you overlook them now, there's going to come a time when you can't fool them any longer. And that time is coming when you are going to go and knock at their doors. And as normal, the PPP would appeal to one and only one thing, and they know what is that they are appealing to. But people have far past that stage, and they are not going to listen to that. So take note. And so in that letter, my comrade was saying about teachers are leaving in the droves. Nurses are leaving in the droves. Policemen are leaving in the droves. Doctors are leaving. So what are we doing? We are training for export. But we have the temerity to say and to publish that we are bringing in people from Bangladesh. And so when we bring those 500 health workers from Bangladesh, we are paying them more than our health workers. Their facilities and benefits are going to be far more than our health workers are now receiving. What are you telling our people, especially our health workers? And then you have so much care and want to bring in people, but you had to close, or you close the Charles Rosa Nursing School in Linden. And you didn't close it because you want to close it. You close it because you know where it was located and who were the persons attending the geographical location of that school. And you want to bring in 500 healthcare workers, and you close the Charles Rosa School of Nursing. Is that this country we want? So I want the viewers to pass it on. Look at how our public officers are treated, our public servants, our teachers, our policemen, our army officers, right? Look at how they are treated. You give them one bonus in December. The coalition government used to give them an increase in salary so that at the time of retirement, by then the salary would be to a level so not only they are going to come out with a good package of gratuity, but they are going to receive each month a pension commensurating with the salary they would have come out with. The NIS they would have been paying at that time would allow them, when they meet 60, to be able to benefit from a higher package in the NIS. And so our public officers, our policemen, our nurses, our teachers, our doctors, and all those who are in the public service, the public servants should understand a bonus means nothing. And you should be able to, here and now, consider that is nothing. I want to turn my attention to the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy. And I think that the Argyle Agreement or Declaration would have been made in bad faith. And Maduro, the president of Venezuela, is taking advantage of that situation. But, you know, we are kind. We went to Brazil, and we went to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we deliver gifts to a man who wants to take away 2/3 of this country, where all our resources are. And we have a foreign minister, some Todd. Todd is his name. This man has no vision for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He has no insight as to the working of that ministry. He does not give the guidance, or may he be absent-minded from giving any guidance as it relates to foreign affairs. And then we have Ralph Gonzalez, and Maya Motley giving us directions because they have their own interest in this country. And we sit and we allow that to happen. And so since we sit and allow that to happen, we are in a very dangerous place at this time. But I hope, as was said to us, that the matter is before the United Nations General Assembly or Security Council. Whichever it is, I hope that a decision would be made. But look at this. If our matter is now before the Argyle Agreement was with the International Court of Justice, then we are showing total disrespect to the International Court of Justice by going to another declaration or agreement. And so we have to be mindful. We have to be mindful because our country, two-thirds, we are in a bad shape. And we have to be able to deal with that. I now want to very quickly deal with the United Nations Human Rights Committee report herein. And you know who answered or attempted to answer or give their own views and perspective of the questions asked? Gail Teixeira represented Guyana, and she failed so miserably in answering or attempting to answer the questions. And let us not believe that Guyana was not prepared, the team was not prepared for what was to come. They knew exactly, because the Human Rights Committee allowed themselves to be properly informed of what is happening in this country. Each day, there were reports. They clarified, they confirmed those reports. And so when they were pointing those questions to Gail Teixeira, who answered with total disrespect to that committee, not knowing what she was answering to because she didn't have answers, made a mess of the presentation. And so as it is, we are in a dangerous crossroad in this country. And we have to understand that. And we have to make known to our viewers who is messing up left, right, and center, so to speak. And the last point I want to touch on tonight before I conclude very quickly is that teachers and teachers across this country would have asked me to deal with the guidelines on the establishment and operation of school canteens. And that is circular number 3 of 2002. And it was under the hand of Genevieve Whitened, then Chief Education Officer. And if Ms. Whitened, you are listening to this program, I send out my respect to you and I salute you. You would have been a very kind person. And you know, in the last days at the Ministry of Education, how you were treated. but you are strong. And the things you did, this is one of the circulars still alive and going. But the teachers and head teachers across this country, things are not happening the way the circular would have allowed it to be. And so they asked me to speak about it, so that I'm going to make a few points. That in very many cases, there's no signed contract. Very many times, private individuals construct their own buildings in school compounds. Bully as they are, and meek and mild as our head teachers are, they go there and do what they want to do. And they pay the school what they feel they have to pay them. And this is not all. The state pays for the water bill, the electricity, the security, and the garbage disposal. And so our schools are left at a loss. And our head teachers are left in a dismal place. And because of fear, they say nothing. And I agree with them. But I want to tell them, since it is not the state that would have, the government that would have employed you, but you're employed by the Teaching Service Commission, paid by the state. And we must have that banging in our minds. And we must have the main thing banging in our minds, that we have a Guyana Teachers Union that is representing our teachers. And you need to turn to be loyal and faithful and stand up to your union, because your union is now negotiating on your behalf to be able to have your salaries and other benefits properly adjusted, so that you can be able to receive a respectable salary at the end of the month. And you know the hurdles that your union is going through to make you receive those sums. But I urge you and ask of you to give your support. And when there's that call for a second time of the bell, I want you to be able to be strong, all the teachers across this country, to be able to answer to that second bell whenever it is wrong. It is for your benefit. And so, as I conclude, I just want to say that it is troubling in this country that very many, and I speak this on all the programs, and I don't want to turn to this memo that is before me. Very many mistakes, badly structured, not following the basic components of a memo. And it is a government officer. And when you see this government officer signs on to a public advertisement, you see at the end of it, Mary John, BSc, MBBA. And what you sign on to there behind your name is far from the truth, because the number of subject and verb agreement, the mistakes there, spelling, construction, punctuation, all out of order. And you are proud to put behind your name BSc and MBA or something like that, right? You should be ashamed to do that when you sign any piece of correspondence. And what is written before that is poorly constructed. It is happening in all our government offices, all our regions, and we have to take care of that. So, in closing, I want to say that the PPP government has a deliberate strategy to keep public servants, teachers in poverty and replace our teachers and our public servants with migrants. And we have seen that. It will soon step into the education system. And those migrants who come, they are going to receive salary and benefits far more than our present teachers and public servants are receiving. And so, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, I close this program tonight by repeating the quote that I give to you early on. And that quote is, as I close, I once more read this quote. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So I finally close by saying, by repeating the quote, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So viewers, I want to express gratitude and thanks for you viewing this program. This program is every Wednesday at 6:30, and the name of this program is Advancing the Cause. Thank you. May God bless you, and may you have a good night. Thank you very much.